Hi, I'm Todd, and if you're watching this video, you probably have questions about how to add or subtract decimals. Well, you're in luck. In this video, we're going to look at how to add and subtract decimals. Coming up next. All right, so we are talking decimals. And mainly we're going to focus on both adding and subtracting decimals. So if you've got questions on these, we're going to cover everything you need to know. So let's start with the addition. The number one key thing to know when you're adding decimals is to line up the decimals. And you can see we're doing that in this problem right here. So just line everything up and then just add like you normally would add. Okay, so you're lined up, just bring the numbers right down and get your answer. Here's another example. Sometimes you don't have the same amount of numbers, like say to the right or to the left. So if you want, you can add zeros to the end to kind of fill in the gap. The decimals are lined up and just add up like normal. Okay. Here's another example. Now this one uses a whole number. If you look at these two numbers, they're the same. They're both $8. The one above though didn't have the decimal. Even though you don't see it, the decimal is there. It's always to the right of a whole number. If you want to throw in a couple of zeros there, you can. So when we get this problem right here of 8 plus 3.12, we're still lining the decimals up. If you want to throw a couple of zeros, now I usually don't, but you can throw them in there. And then once you get everything lined up, just go ahead and add, and again, bring the decimal straight down. So here's a few other examples real quick of adding. So you can see 5.6 plus 23.78. Line the decimals up. You want to throw a couple of zeros in there? Go ahead. And then once you get everything all lined up and everything, just go ahead and add. And you can see our answer right here is 29 and 38 hundredths. Okay. Next example. 0.0917 plus 4. Remember, 4 is a whole number. Decimals to the right. Throw a few zeros in there. And then just go ahead and add it on up. And you'll get your answer of 4.0917. Now on this one here, I got a little overzealous where I was putting the board, and the decimal kind of fell off the edge, but it's down there. All right, another example is, now this is one where we're adding actually 3 different items, but it's still the same. We're going to line the decimals up, throw some zeros in there if you want to. I never put them in the front, but you can. And then just go ahead and add like normal. Just bring the decimal straight down. Now, one of the things you can do to make yourself have a better chance of getting answers right is to estimate. So if I'm looking at these two numbers here, these two decimals, I know the first one is basically 2, and the next number is basically 1. So I should get an answer that's about 3. And the actual answer is 3.5, so 3 would make sense. It's pretty close. Here when we're estimating, we have a 7 and a 2. So we would think, or we would say to ourselves, we should get an answer around 9. And sure enough, we do. It's 9.46. Here's another one. And again, we have the whole number 8, and we have 3. So our answer should be somewhere in the ballpark of 11. In this case, it's 11.12, or 11 and 12 hundredths. Now, this one actually has a couple different things going on here. So if you just look at the whole numbers, you have 41, 2, and 0. So we would say to ourselves, we should get an answer around 43. Now, if we actually round the numbers off, it's actually a 42, a 3, and a 1. And so we could say we should get an answer around 46. So with these two in mind, we should probably get an answer around 43 to 46. And sure enough, 45.3715 is our actual answer. So we're right there. Now, we can estimate to kind of help us out when we make mistakes. So for example, sometimes I'll see students, when they're trying to add, they don't add or don't line up the decimal. And they do it this way. You can see it's wrong. And so if they put their decimal here, they get 782. Well, that's not even close to 43 or 46. If they use the second decimal, they get answers like 78.28, which again is double what we thought it should be. And if they bring the decimal straight down to the third one, we actually get an answer that's less than 1. Now, subtracting decimals, it's the same thing. Line up those decimals. Once you get them lined up, just subtract and bring the numbers straight down. Now, we get to the next one, it's the same thing. So even though we have a different amount here, we're still lining up the decimals. Now, this is going to bring us to one of the major mistakes I see when people subtract like this. What they'll want to do is bring the 3 straight down. Don't do that. You're taking 3 away from something, so you're going to have to borrow from the 5, make it a 10, and now we can subtract. So you get 7.27. Here's a whole number. So again, remember, whole number, the decimal's at the end. So throw a couple zeros in there. And now you're going to end up borrowing and you can solve the problem. A lot of people might say the answer is 3.22, but remember, you can't just bring that 0.22 down. Here's another one, another whole number, and this time the 3, we're taking it away from the first number. And again, throw those decimals in there, and you get 25.92. Couple more here. Again, lining up the decimals, throwing zeros in there. Once you get that, go ahead and go to town and start subtracting, and always bring that decimal straight down. To estimate, just like with addition, when you go through here, the first number is around 7, second number is around 2. So you know you're going to get an answer that's around 5. It's not going to be exactly 5 usually, and 5.4 would make sense. Here's another example, 8 minus 1. Well, 8 minus 1 is going to be 7. So our answer should be around 7, not 70 or 77 or something like that. And sure enough, the answer was 7.25. Here's another one. So 6 minus 3 is 3. So we should get an answer around 3. It's 2.78, and that's pretty close to 3. Okay. Here's 78 minus, or actually 79 because we rounded up, minus 2, so 77. Even if we did use 78, we would think an answer is around 76.